and welcome to episode number 2 of Rising and Inspiring.
Good evening, and as Miss Kristen said, welcome to Rising and Inspiring. Thank you for those that have taken time out of your day to join us. We really appreciate it. And we don't know what our special guest is up to.
He's actually here, so I'm gonna bring him on.
Oh, look. See, I was like, we're gonna say something positive and hope that he's okay, but he's okay. It's good to know.
He likes to make dramatic appearances, so welcome to our special guest. Hi, Dave.
Hey, what's up, Kristen? How are you doing?
All right, and you?
I am so glad to be joining you. Congratulations on the new show.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for being so kind enough to join us. We greatly appreciate you for that.
Absolutely. Hey, it's show number 1. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Oh, you're so kind. You know, keep throwing it out there, keep rubbing it in. So we Dave, do appreciate you. Go ahead.
We are ready to learn from you and have you inspire others like you have never done before. And I know you have inspired so many people in such a short amount of time with DBC books and teaching and consulting and going to conferences and just everything. I couldn't even list them all.
No.
I try to stay busy.
Yes, that's why we know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you taking some out to devote to us and to our audience so that we can, of course, learn more about you and all that you have accomplished. So should I go with question number 1?
Let's do it.
All right. So originally, question number 1 is supposed to be, please tell us about yourself. However, I dislike that question, and I am the one that created the question. So I said what I was going to do was reword it and ask you if you could tell us how you came to where you are now. Like, take us from the beginning and how we are now here with you, the pirate, Mr. Dave Burgess.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know what, I was kind of late to the game as a teacher. I graduated college, did all kinds of other stuff. Eventually, took a job as a basketball coach at a high school. Didn't even have a teacher credential. Answered a classified ad for a basketball coach at a high school, and was hired for the position. And enjoyed working with the kids so much, decided to go back to night school and get my teacher credential. And so went back to night school while I was coaching, got my teacher credential and became a teacher. Eventually left the coaching behind, concentrated on the teaching, became an educator. And so I taught for 17 years at West Hills High School in San Diego, California. And while I was there, one day I was asked by my department chair to put together a professional development seminar. I did not have a professional development seminar. I did not have any idea that I was going to have a professional development seminar. I had no idea I was going to write a book. I didn't have any of this stuff. And he asked me if I wanted to do it. And I said, yeah, sign me up. And so the lesson in that is sometimes you have to grasp opportunity before you're ready, because trust me, I was not ready to do a professional development seminar for the colleagues in my district. But then, all of a sudden, there was a date on the calendar, and I was going to be standing up in front of my peers, and I was going to be given a 6-hour. It wasn't a 1-hour workshop. Like most smart people sign up to do like a 1-hour workshop. I signed up for a full-day workshop. I was not very smart, so I was going to do a 6-hour workshop. Okay, for the peers in my district, it was going to be like 8:30 to 3 with a half-hour lunch, and I was in a panic. I got to come up with something. And so that's when I got relentless about trying to figure out what it is that I do that made me successful and how can I teach this to other people. And that was the origin of Teach Like a Pirate. It started as a workshop and started off by signing up for something I was absolutely and completely not ready for.
Wow. And that's just amazing that you didn't even prepare for it. It was not knowledgeable to you. Like, you just went for it, like all out.
It was all out. And then in the next several months, heading into that summer, it was going to be a summer workshop. I worked hours and hours and hours in research and wrote stuff down and thought about my lessons and why this works and why doesn't that work. And what it did is it forced me to become much more intentional about my teaching. So I always encourage people to get professional development, because when you get professional development, what it does is it forces you to become so much more reflective and intentional, because now you're like, when you have to capture what is your secret sauce, your magic recipe, and then share that with someone else, it's going to make you so much better as an educator in your own classroom. And so that's what it did for me. All of a sudden, it helped me to quantify, hey, oh, wow, okay, this is why this works. And then now maybe I'm going to double down. I need to do more of that. And so after doing the workshop and pulling the workshop together, I think it just made me even a better teacher.
Wow. So did you have a degree before you started coaching, or you just took the classified job?
No, I had a degree. So I graduated from UC Davis with a degree in psychology. So I had a psychology degree, and to me, psychology is one of the greatest degrees of all time, because it could really be used across almost any field. And so I did not know what I wanted to do. Even in college, I'm always disturbed when we take some kid who's like he's like 12 years old and make them choose some career path. It's like, man, I was in my 20s and didn't know what I wanted to do. So how's this 12-year-old going to choose a career path right now, right? And so I think that you give people exposure to a wide variety of subjects and topics and not force them to specialize so early. And so, yeah, so I was in my 20s. I still didn't know what I wanted to do, but psychology was something that I was interested in. And I knew that psychology was something, it's about understanding people. And so I knew that was going to be helpful no matter what I chose to do. And certainly as an educator, I think psychology is a great fit.
Wow, that is great. So we better be careful. He's going to use some of that psychology on us here.
Well, it's already started.
Okay, so you did the professional development, and you recommend that as educators, we do professional development. Take us from the professional development that you gave to creating the book.
Yeah, and so after doing the professional development, I recognize that. After doing the professional development that summer, it got good feedback, and I got kind of obsessed about it. And I began to go anywhere where anyone would listen to me to talk about these ideas. I just submitted like conference proposals all over the nation. And literally, if any conference in any state said, yeah, you can come do your pirate thing here, I got a plane ticket and went. And now this is an important point. Everybody wants to get paid to speak, and I understand that, but when I started, I was not getting paid to speak. I was going these places. I was paying to buy a conference registration in order to go and speak. And I just knew if I could get my message in front of enough people, it was going to take off. I was confident that if they could just see me, then I know I'll get hired further down. Like, this is going to be an investment right now, but eventually if I can just get exposure, if I can just get in front of people with this, I know I've seen what happens to an audience when I get up there, and this is going to work. And so I just began to go speak at conference after conference after conference, and at my expense. And then slowly it started to build and grow. Pretty soon I was getting some paid speaking events. And then eventually a publishing company came. They sat in on one of my sessions. It was in Washington, D.C. at the NCSS conference. Sat in on my session. And after the session, this person came up to me. I didn't know who they were. They came up to me and gave me a business card and said that they worked for a publishing company, and they wanted to meet with me about putting this workshop and making it into a book. And so we met at the coffee shop at the hotel of the event. And they offered me a publishing contract. Well, now, I went straight up into my hotel room and I Googled publishing contracts, because when I read the contract, I thought she was trying to cheat me. And then when I Googled them, I found out, hey, she was not trying to cheat me. That's what they look like. And I always tell people this. To me, the only thing missing was a ski mask and a gun, right? Like it was only missing a ski mask and a gun. And so I did a ton of research, and with Shelly, we ended up deciding not to sign, and we formed our own publishing company. And that book that you just held up, Teach Like a Pirate, we published it from a laptop at the kitchen table. And so we put it on ourselves. And that was the whole vision of the company at first, is I'm going to go speak and we're going to sell this book. And so that's what we did. And then what eventually happened was it took off. We had the good fortune to have it kind of go viral. And then other people started to contact us and say, hey, we don't want to sign these contracts either. Like, how are you doing this? And after a while, we said, you know what? It's time to disrupt this industry. Publishing is based on an outdated model. Let's disrupt this thing. And so we said, we'll start signing some of these other people that I'm running across out on the circuit too. And, it wasn't until 2 years later that we did our second book. So for 2 years, it was just my book. 2 years later, we put out book number 2. And now we're, approaching book 130.
Wow. So what year did you publish yours again?
My book came out in 2012. And then the next book was not until 2014. We published Pure Genius by Don Wettrick, which was the idea of taking, the reason it's called Pure Genius is because what Don had done is he had created a class on innovation where he basically took the concept of Genius Hour. And some people say like, one day a week, we're going to do Genius Hour. He made Genius Hour the whole class. The whole class was Genius Hour. And so that's why the book was called Pure Genius. And that was the first book not written by me in the line. Book number 2, Pure Genius, Don Wettrick.
So I love the fact that your wife and you created this company together. You work together. I know you do long hours. I know she speaks. I know she's written and co-authored a couple. How does it work? How do you both inspire as not only a team, but a couple? How do you guys inspire others to say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we love. You can do the same, or you can do what you love. It doesn't have to be what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's an important point, is that what, for example, sometimes people will say to me, like, when are you going to write Teach Like a Pirate Part 2, basically, like that kind of like follow-up book. And what I always tell them is I say, hey, I told my story. Like, I wrote my manifesto. I did my thing. And everything that I wrote about was something that I authentically did in my classroom, was something I found useful and successful. I don't have any interest in writing about stuff from an inauthentic space, right? And so what was important was that after telling my story, we go try to find other people and amplify their message and help them tell their story. Teach Like a Pirate was never meant to be the encyclopedia of teaching or the Bible teaching, anything like that. Like, it's not the whole thing. It's my story. And so now there's a lot of other people that need to contribute to that. Like, for example, I have a very kind of a pretty showy, maybe a little teacher-centric way of hooking students, right? Because I'm into the performance elements of education. Well, what about creating a student-centered classroom? Well, that's where Learn Like a Pirate came in. Well, there's not a whole lot of ed tech in my book. Good reason why. I'm not good at it. That's why, right? I wasn't good at ed tech. And so I'm not going to write about ed tech from in an inauthentic way. So Tech Like a Pirate, Matt Miller, right? Or Ditch That Textbook from Matt Miller. Or, so we're trying to, what I tried to do is we try to find other people that had complementary messages rather than me just tell the same stuff over and over again or make stuff up. It's like, no, I did my thing. Now let's help other people do their thing. And to be honest with you, like, people sometimes say, like, how are the rankings of Teach Like a Pirate doing right now? I don't even know. I haven't even looked at the rankings of Teach Like a Pirate in a long time, but I have looked at the other books because now I'm interested in trying to amplify and uplift and empower other authors and their messages.
And I don't know if you've, LaTezeon, I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen Dave in person do his.
Oh, I have. I've been blessed with the opportunity. Yes, and it's definitely a treat.
Hey, so we got to connect to Teach Better, right, LaTezeon?
Yes, it was. Yes,
that was a fantastic conference. And then I remember also.
I was supposed to go to it. I had to cancel. I'm so angry with myself.
Teach Better 2019. Was it 2019?
Yeah, it was 2019. And
then 2020, of course, whoosh, went the way of all conferences in 2020. Unfortunately, but yeah, highly recommend the Teach Better conference. It was great. And then Kristen, I for some reason I remember something unusual about the conference where you saw me speak, and it was the first time I ever wore the blue Teach Like a Pirate shirt.
Yes, which we're dying for one. We were discussing that on the last show, and we were like, we hope we can get a blue pirate shirt. That would be high on our bucket list.
You'd have to have special connections for that, because those aren't even on the market for sale. But we can connect about that.
I'll work on I have a connection, I think, so I'll work on that.
Right.
Okay. So you are truly an inspiration to many. So my question would be, is there someone or something that inspires you?
Oh, wow. There's so many that I am absolutely blown away by what I see educators doing right now, especially during this school year into 2020 and 2021. An absolutely overwhelming and disruptive situation for education. And the way that I've seen teachers adapt and connect, collaborate, innovate, and find creative ways to still reach kids and still teach kids. There is nothing more inspirational than what I see, the work I see teachers doing right now under the very toughest of circumstances, certainly circumstances way tougher than anything I faced when I was in the classroom. And so, if you are a current practicing classroom teacher right now, my hat's off to you, because this is, when I talk to educators, the word that's most often used is overwhelmed. And that's completely understandable. And so that's what's inspiring me currently. People who are trying to move forward during this tough time. And sometimes I'll have teachers who connect with me and they'll say, you know what, I just don't feel like I'm being as effective as I was last year. Mm-hmm. And my answer to them is, of course not. It's a global pandemic. Like, the idea that you're going to be just smooth sailing like last year during a global pandemic is just not a realistic expectation. But what you are doing is so necessary, so needed. And so, like I said, thank you to all the current practicing classroom teachers out there and administrators who are making decisions and are put in positions which they never thought they would have to in their career.
I do have to say, I've never sat down as much as I have this year in teaching in 18 years of teaching. I've never sat down this much, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's hopefully hopefully there's a light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccine and all that getting rolled out, and so I'm praying that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that even if not this school year, that when we do 2021, 22, we'll return to some sort of sense of manageable situation.
All right, so you have Teach Like a Pirate, which is your first book, but we also have your children's book, P is for Pirate, that you and Shelley co-authored. So how does this connect anything with Teach Like a Pirate, or is it just something completely different?
Absolutely. So this is it's a children's book format, I'll say, and then it's a picture. It's an ABC picture book, which is we would always associate with being a children's book. What we decided was that teachers love ABC books. Mm-hmm. They love their picture books. Let's make one for them. So even though it's formatted like a children's book, it is for the teacher, not for the student. And what it does is it takes our messages that we believe in and just puts it in a fun ABC format. I'll give full credit on this to a couple different things. One, Seth Godin. So Seth Godin wrote a book for adults that was an ABC book called V is for Vulnerable. And I love that book. And when I read that book, I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if we could do something like this for our message. And then we hosted a Twitter chat one night. So the TLAP chat is every Monday night, 8 Central. And we used it as a topic. We said, hey, we're thinking about writing an ABC book for educators. So so basically question one was like, if you could choose a word for A, B, C, kind of broke the alphabet up and threw it out. The Twitter chat took off. People loved it. People were excited. And just the wide array of words that they threw in there were so amazing that we're like, let's do this. And so Shelley and I came up with the primary word that we chose for each letter. And then that was what the artist made the rendering of the page. Genesis Kohler, fantastic artist who's done a lot of our covers, did the artwork. And then at the end of the book, we took a lot of those people from the Professional Learning Network who we were connected with or who had participated in the Twitter chat that night, and we added their word in there too at the end of the book. So that's why at the end of the book, you see like a whole bunch of different words that you can use for A through Z at the end from other people.
And this is my favorite, 0 excuses.
Yes, I love that page too. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's where it all came from. And there's lots of different ways people can use that book. First of all, it's a great thing you can like send it out as a message to your staff, 1 letter at a time. There's a little short little thing. It's actually surprisingly a fantastic book study. The reason why it's a fantastic book study is because the initial investment on the front end is so low. You're not reading some 300-page book or something like that. You can read a page and then have a discussion around that page. And so, okay, so here's the T is for tapir. And it's about celebrating the students on your campus who don't necessarily fit in. They're not the ones that get all the attention. They're not the lion. They're not the elephant or the giraffe at the zoo. Our schools are filled with some tapirs too, right? And so it's about celebrating people's uniqueness. And so you can have a whole discussion about how you do that as a staff and how you connect with kids and make sure that everyone feels validated in your school system. And so you can do so without having some huge reading assignment. You can actually have some very powerful discussions about education.
Never thought about that. That's a good way to look at it.
Absolutely. Definitely would be interested in doing a book study with it. Okay, so what kind of advice would you give to a new teacher, someone just fresh out of school and coming into what we have now, especially with the pandemic?
Yep. Okay. So first of all, what is unique about you? Your particular strengths and talents, and your voice that you add to your classroom is what makes you most powerful and effective. And so make sure that you're always trying to express yourself as an educator, and you don't have to fall into the cookie cutter mode of education where everybody has to do everything the same, or you're going to come into a school system and just have to adopt every single thing that's happening at that school system. Make sure that you let your personality, your strengths and talents shine through into what you do in the classroom. That's one thing. The second thing, which I think is also super important for new teachers, is I've talked to a new teacher before who told me they were going to leave the profession. And I said, I'm just not cut out for this. I can't handle it. Things got out of control. I said, wait, tell me what happened. And then they told me a story where they had 30 students. And basically the bottom line of the story is that 29 of the students were fine, but 1 student popped off and was a problem. And kind of like dragged the lesson down. Well, now they walked away from that lesson feeling like a failure, even though 29 of their 30 students were wildly engaged, right?
Yes.
So we always focus on those negatives, right? Like
Yes.
if you do an evaluation at the end of the year and have students talk about your class, you could get 100 kids who say it was the most life-changing and best class I ever had. But if 1 kid said, I hated this class, you will go home obsessed about that 1 kid.
Absolutely.
And so what I tell teachers is, listen, if you set up your rubric for success as an educator, that you must have 100% success with 100% of your lessons with 100% of your kids, you have now set up a rubric which is going to guarantee yourself a career of disappointment, because that's not the way that this works. This is not about 100%. This is about getting better. These ideas that will make you better, you will improve. But if you're ever looking for some sort of perfection as an educator, it's not coming. And
No.
there was no year of through 17 years, there was not a single year of that I had as an educator, or I didn't have behavior management issues in my class. Things go wrong, lessons fall flat, have to reteach things that just didn't work out, like all those things. But here's the problem: new teachers think that it's them. Experienced teachers know that's just teaching. But new teachers personalize it and say, like, oh my God, I'm horrible. I'm not cut out for this.
Absolutely. That is so true.
So we got our first comment coming in through YouTube. Kristen Conti, and I met her at USM SPAR conference a couple years back. So she says, hi, Dave. Hi, Kristen. And then she added another one. The success comes from the conversations and the imperfections.
Absolutely. That is so true, Kristen. And So I've said this to a lot of people. Like, we talk to kids all the time about having a growth mindset. Like, this is a common conversation. Kid comes up and says, "I'm not good at math." We say, "Whoa, hold on, you're not good at math yet."
Yet. Mm-hmm.
Or a kid says, I don't feel comfortable speaking in front of the class." We would never say to that student, "Oh yeah, I totally get that. That's a thing. Just go sit quietly in the corner all year." We would never say that. We would work with them to develop their confidence, develop their skills, and get them closer and closer approximations of what they need to be successful, right? And then and to the point where they could achieve this feeling comfortable in front of the class, right? But as educators, then we have to turn that same focus on ourselves too, have that same growth mindset, and realize that all progress is found outside of your comfort zone. So if you're never uncomfortable, you're not growing. And so this stuff is going to be uncomfortable. You're going to fail. You're going to fall flat. There's going to be disasters. Things are going to blow up in your face. And that's just part of this wonderful art of teaching.
I completely agree with what you're saying. Just listening to you, I could just listen and listen and listen. Just because you have a variety of different ways of looking at things, not just a one-sided perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's super important. That reminds me of what like a question that sometimes people ask me is, so what's your favorite hook that's in the book, right? And I always tell them, well, first of all, that's a little bit like asking someone to choose their favorite child, which I could do for you if you want. No, but anyway, it kind of depends on the week. But no, so anyway, what I tell people is, listen, it's not so much about what your favorite hook is. It's about using a wide variety of hooks and a wide variety of techniques and strategies, because not every one of those hooks is going to hit every single kid in your class. And so if you're always going back to the same thing, you're missing out on a section of your students. And so it's about incorporating a wide variety of teaching strategies, because you never know what's going to hit any particular kid and their learning style or where they are, right? And so there's a quote that I love. It says, like, the person who's good with a hammer tends to see every problem as a nail, right? So if you're good with a hammer, you just go around and looking for ways to use your hammer. Well, sometimes as educators, we might be good at a particular technique, so we just want to go around and use that technique all the time, every day. But we have to like go, whoa, hold on a second. Maybe this technique isn't good for all my kids. I need to incorporate more variety in what I do. And so I always encourage educators to use a wider variety of the techniques and strategies and hooks that are in there.
Well done. Well, I don't know if that was your favorite quote, but that is one of the questions. So we can mark that.
Favorite quote of all time, everything, or in the book?
What is your absolute favorite quote?
Okay, so I change my mind on this sometimes, but I'll tell you what it has been for a while now. My favorite quote comes from Seth Godin. And Seth Godin, his quote is this: "Reject the tyranny of picked. Pick yourself." And so I love that. The whole idea that you don't have to raise your hand. You don't have to be called on. Nobody's got to tap you on the shoulder. You don't have to be selected. If you want to do something, pick yourself. Go do it. Go tackle it. If you want to do a professional development workshop, you don't have to wait for someone to come to you and say, "Hey, will you do professional development?" Go put a proposal in. At the local conference or in your district or the national conference, whatever it might be. You want to write a book, go write it. And so don't wait for somebody to pick you or select you. If you want to put your work into the world, go do it.
My favorite quote is from the Lorax. "Unless someone like you cares an awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not." And it is so true.
Yeah, that's a great quote as well.
I love the Lorax.
What's not to love?
We have Kristen says, "The hooks, when the kids know you care enough to give that variety, it helps build those relationships and increases the laughing and the fun."
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you had a lot of laughter and a lot of fun when you were in the classroom.
Yeah, there are some stories. Not all of those stories go public, by the way.
So we are live, so maybe, Yeah,
there are some stories, some things that went down in the classroom that have yet to be revealed because they're just too wild and crazy, and like people would think that they were made up. And sometimes you have to have a filter. And I've got my little pop filter right here, and I'm using my little pop filter when I'm talking publicly about things that happened in the classroom. There are some wild things that went down.
I can imagine.
So we'll see towards later on in life, it'll be the memoirs of, and then those stories will come out.
So I have a couple buddies, some friends, colleagues that I taught with for, they were there with me the whole 17 years. Some, a couple of them shared an office with me. Like we had adjoining classrooms. They had like a little office that connected the classrooms. And they have threatened many times that like, hey, you know what? We're going to do like a reveal, like a tell-all, like a reveal project where the untold stories of the pirate kind of a thing. Of things that they saw go down and happen in the classroom. And, so unfortunately, the result of that is I have to cut them a check every month to keep them quiet.
How do we get in on this? We need to get in. We need to get a story so we can get on this check cashing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so if you could make one thing better for educators, what would it be?
Well, I mean, I'm tempted right now to say I'm getting rid of this COVID-19 because as much as we complain about in education anyway, different things that we want fixed and reform and all that right now, if I could wave my magic wand and get rid of this pandemic and get teachers back safely in person with their students again, that is the number one thing I would do for them because these are tough times.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. Okay, so name to fame. Is there anyone that you would recommend for us to follow on Twitter?
Oh, wow. Man,
Kristen looks like
there are so many amazing teachers on Twitter. What I would recommend doing is look for people that uplift others and look for people who are prolific sharers and connectors. So, for example, if you see someone on Twitter who is it's like they can't run across a negative thing that they don't talk about. It's like if they can shame a teacher, they're gonna find a way. Like this, almost like I think I wonder like who's paying them. Like someone must, as much time as they spend trying to find stuff to complain about or shame on Twitter, it's like somebody must be paying them to like spend all this time. And so those are not the people I would look to follow. I look to follow people that are uplifting, people that are inspiring, people that are connectors, and people that are sharers. And so, like, if you look at someone's Twitter feed and it says like my Facebook, like do that, blah 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 blah, that is all constantly like that. It's like a stream of stuff like that. That's not your person, but a person who's always kind of sharing other people's work. And tweeting, retweeting people who are saying cool stuff, all that kind of stuff. Those kind of people I would look to follow.
Awesome.
It's kind of like you're responsible for the energy that you allow into your space.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like for example, if someone came to your door of your house with, and you opened it, and they had muddy shoes on, and they said, and started to immediately insult you and criticize you and tell you all the reasons why they hate you and want to invite themselves into your house, what would you do? You would never let that person in your house. So you are responsible for who you allow to take up your energy and who you allow to enter into your space. And so you want to invite people into your house, whether it's social media, whether it's physical, whether it's connection, that are going to be people that uplift you, inspire you, and who are want to see you do well and have your back, and are not looking to belittle you, shame you, or not looking to drag you down. That ultimately, even if they challenge you, even ultimately they have your interest at heart. They want you to become a better person. They're not interested in coming in and dirtying up your house. And so I'm very conscious about who I allow into my space.
Great answer. So, Kristen, you have anything to say?
I have a lot to say.
Go for it. Look, because we don't know, we can't hold them too much longer, but go for it. Now it's time.
I'm sure it's a busy day where you're at, enjoying the sun and the heat. We've got a snowstorm. We had a snowstorm here, so it's below 0 or 30 something.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it's actually kind of a rainy day here. And so now a rainy day here is still like in the 70s, but it is a rainy day. And the other, I will tell you something I'm excited about that I wanted to share, and that is my podcast just dropped yesterday.
I was going to mention that, and I saw that on Twitter, and I was going to say something, and I'm like, okay, don't forget to mention the podcast. And guess what? I forgot the podcast.
There you go. Yeah, so the Dave Burgess Show is live. Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast, the Dave Burgess Show is live. Episode 1 just dropped yesterday. It's called Read Wide, Live Wide. It's kind of an introductory episode to the podcast and what you can expect. And just the reason why I just hopped in just in time to your Facebook Live is I just finished the very first interview for the show. And so I'm going to get that all. It's downloading. I see it downloading right now on my screen here. It's 44%, in case you're wondering. So it's 44% download. The first interview of the show. It is incredible. You're going to be blown away. And so we're going to get that all edited up and probably either drop it tomorrow or Thursday. So the episode 2 is coming, and it is an interview with one of my edu heroes. And I'm not going to reveal it, but I'll just say it's one of my edu
I was like, gosh, give us something. Like, you're not giving us anything.
Okay, I'll tell you what. In the spirit of this being your first show and wanting you to be able to have some sort of like reveal for your first show, I'm not putting it on social media anywhere, but I'll tell on this first show. So the first guest on the Dave Burgess Show is Principal L, Salome Thomas L, award-winning principal from Philadelphia. And the episode is fire.
Wow. Now it's like now I got to make sure that I did subscribe to it. I subscribed to it yesterday when I saw it come up. So now I have to make sure I listen to it. And my thing is trying to find the time. And I know we could always find the time, but I got to find the time to listen to it.
That first episode, it's 18 minutes long. You got this.
Okay.
Yeah, 18 minutes long. Now, Salome is a little longer because the conversation is rich. We talked, all kinds of different topics. And when he's talking, I'm listening because I love that guy and I love his message. I love his energy. I told him, hey, listen, I won't go travel to go see a lot of people speak, but I'll go travel to see you speak anywhere. And so, can't wait for you to hear the episode.
Wow, I can't wait. It'll be awesome to hear it.
Yes, definitely looking forward to it.
The one thing I do missing is when you said traveling, is like just trying to travel to different places throughout the summer to conferences, just because I haven't done it in so long. And it's like, now it's like, I'm missing something, I'm missing the fact of meeting other people. And virtual conferences are nice, but they're not for me. I want to be able to go to the conferences and physically do things and meet people and talk to people and game night and everything like that. And by the way, I'm an ace at code name. You never want to play with me. Okay. So those who are watching know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, so I agree with you on the face-to-face conferences. Of course, we do the best we can right now, but there's just something about being in the same physical space with a bunch of other people that are into what you're into. And it's really weird. Like right now, if I do a keynote, it's like this strange thing because can't see most of the people. Maybe there's 500 people in a Zoom. And I'm talking to the screen, I'm doing my thing, I'm getting pumped up, I'm excited. And then I say like, thank you. And then they come on and say like, all right, thank you very much. And then like, I click leave meeting and go have lunch. And it's like people, and Shelly might say like, well, how did it go? I'm like, it's kind of hard to say. Like, I clicked out of the meeting, and like, it's just, you don't have that same sense of the impact of what's happening, the energy in the room, and those connections and conversations in the hallways afterwards, and chance to go out and have a conversation over dinner with people and like all that kind of stuff like that. I'm desperate for all that to come back.
I hear you on that one too. I'm the same way. So do you have any new titles that are coming out that you can share, or is there anything in the works? Any ideas?
Yeah, so we just put out Project-Based Learning Anywhere by Lori Elliott. We're super excited about that book. So it's our first like kind of full-on book on project-based learning. The reason it's called Project-Based Learning Anywhere is because there's applications that can be done in distance and remote settings, but also face-to-face or hybrid blended models. And so that's the latest one. And then tomorrow, a book is coming out that's for the tiny techies. So how to use technology, like really use technology with our littles. And it's by Mia Leonard. And so we're just going to be, that's another, oh, look at that. There's another reveal. I haven't even mentioned that on Twitter yet or any place yet. So the Mia Leonard's book about using technology with littles is going to be dropping tomorrow.
Awesome.
Wow, we're getting all the good stuff now. We're getting everything that he's just dishing out. We just keep mentioning.
Yep, getting all the secrets.
And you said you're going to give a book away, correct? Right?
What's that?
On our show. You said you would give a book away today.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
So give away a signed copy of Teach Like a Pirate. And so I assume you're going to maybe get someone who puts a comment in there or something like that. So and by the way, I'll tell you what, if the person who wins already has Teach Like a Pirate, doesn't need Teach Like a Pirate, then we'll work out something where they can get another DBC book that we might have in stock. And so, I hate to send the same book to someone who already has like a dog-eared, highlighted, post-it noted copy of Teach Like a Pirate. But so if they don't want the signed copy of Teach Like a Pirate because they have one, then what we'll do is we will give them another choice from DBC.
We greatly appreciate you for that.
You put that in a comment, and we can go ahead and show that on the screen. And Dave, it's just amazing that you're able to talk with us tonight. I know there's a couple hour difference between where you're at and where we're at, and I know you're really busy, and I know you just dropped your your podcast, and we really appreciate it that you took the time to come talk to us and share your expertise and just inspire others, even if it's just to write a blog, not just a book, but a blog to go out and do it. And, everyone's word matters. It's just who are you, who is it for? And if it's not for anyone, at least it's still for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people think that they don't have anything maybe that's unique enough to share or special enough to share, or they think that maybe what they're doing in the classroom, everybody else is doing, and this is not true. There's absolutely stuff that you're doing in your classroom that could help other people. And by the way, even if someone else is doing that, they can still just when you share that you're doing it, that just validates their practice, makes them feel better about what they're doing. And there's a whole lot of people that are sitting on the fence. Maybe I wonder if I should try this new strategy. And when you share that you're doing it, that just kind of gives them more courage maybe to take the leap themselves. And so put your work out into the world, share it, connect with other people. Don't be limited by your school site. Go out there and become connected and draw ideas from outside of your school system and bring them in. And then you share your ideas out, and it's just going to all make everybody better.
Well said.
Kristen's my pal from USM Spark.
Congratulations on your new show. Can't wait to see what y'all do with it.
Thank you. We greatly appreciate you for taking the time to join us. It really means a lot being our first guest. So
I'm honored.
If you had one last thing you can say, like last parting words, if anyone ever saw you and didn't see you after today, what would you say?
Yeah, and so what I would say is put a real focus on an intentional self-care, and that self-care is not selfish, right? And so a lot of times educators, they work, they kind of like burn themselves out. And what used to be the case is there was a geographic separation between home and work. But now for a lot of educators, that geographic separation is gone because of distance learning, remote learning, all that. And so it has become much more difficult for them to unplug from their life as an educator because they're always in the same space. And so, what you have to do is you have to understand that it is not selfish. In fact, by focusing on yourself, self-care, wellness, fitness, nutrition, rest, sleep, all these different things, it's actually going to make you a better educator and better able to serve your students. So don't feel guilty. You will never be done. There's a myth in education, like, well, maybe when I finish, I'm not done with my curriculum, or I need to plan these lessons. The truth of the matter is, as an educator, you will never be done. There's always something more that you'll be able to do. So if you're waiting to be done, that's a trap. That's a trap. Don't fall into it. At a certain point, you have to set boundaries. You have to unplug and say, you know what, now it's time for me to just go do this for myself.
Wise words, wise words. Well, thanks, Dave. We appreciate you coming on, and cannot look more forward to anything you have coming out, books, more authors, and definitely your podcast. We definitely will be talking about your podcast on one of our shows. So thank you so much.
Check out that Principal L episode coming up. It's going to be fire.
Definitely.
We're definitely going to do that.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Dave. All right. So love having Dave. He had so many great ideas, so many just so down to earth information that anyone can take away from it.
Absolutely.
So if you could think about one thing that Dave said that you could pass on to another teacher or your child or just a person who's not in education, what would you take away?
I think the message that most stood out to me was, don't wait around to be selected, but, pick yourself and be the one to go out there and, do the professional development, write the book. Don't be the one just waiting to see if somebody's going to pick you. And I also appreciate the fact that he's as passionate and authentic about things as he is. That's one thing I do notice about the DBC books is that you have to have a passion for whatever it is that you're writing about. And that's like key. And, if you have that, then you have something special that could definitely be a part of it. So, really great that we were able to have him on and have him spread more knowledge. So,
I definitely agree with you. Should we say who our next month's guest is, or should we just leave that for a little teaser for a week or so?
Yeah, because we have the what I'm trying to say, what we're gonna put up for it, so we can hold out and wait till we post. But I'm excited about her. She's a sweet, genuine, giving, generous person, and has a really big heart. And she took a chance on me and giving me my first opportunity to publish a book. Like, I never would have thought I would publish, like, honestly, that did not. But the way things happened and the way we were in contact with each other and the way things rolled, she's just very supportive. She's even allowed me to do professional development before. She's just a breath of fresh air, and definitely looking forward to having she on our show.
Is it a she?
Yes. She's a she.
Yeah, and I love the fact that she has so many different avenues, like puts her hands in so many different things that
Absolutely.
it's not just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just amazing how she could do so many different things well.
Absolutely. And she's willing to give you opportunities like that. Just speaks volumes in itself of her. So I'm excited to have her on and be able to gain more knowledge from her and find out how she got to where she is now. And I just think that it's important to get that type of information from people that we are inspired by, to know where they came from and how they've gotten to where they are now. So Dave and Shelly went out on, they took a chance, and it's one of the most impressive and hats off to them for taking a chance to say, you know what, we'll publish our own book. And then from there, publishing others' books, and now having over 100+ titles of books published and still continuing to put books out. That speaks a lot. And I appreciate the fact that he, told us the process and told us the steps. And so I've heard it before, but to hear it again just kind of certifies things, do the professional development, get the work. Because at first I heard it and I'm like, well, that doesn't, how am I do the professional development first if I'm haven't written a book? But then it makes sense because you do the professional development, you get it out there, you get it so that people can hear it, and if they can relate to it and take anything away from it. And then from there, if it's something that you have the right audience for, then take the steps and try to create it and make it a book. So
Yep, love it. So second episode, first guest episode is done. We will be working on our third and have some little things in between. And thank everyone for watching, and Kristen Conti especially for giving us all those comments so we can publish and put on. So, and I think she's in Florida. Next time I have to have her take a picture with a cheese hat. She bought a cheese hat when we were in USM Spark in Wisconsin. So I think she'll have to take a picture of that so we can show it next time.
awesome. Well, it has been a pleasure. And I think we've discussed that we will possibly come on 2 times a month. We're just trying to get a feel for things because I think that our session that we had went really well, and we could talk for days. And so we are looking at possibly 2 sessions per month instead of 1. So we just kind of see how things go. And please provide us any feedback that you may have. This is a learning process for us, as we've stated before, and we are open to comments and suggestions on ways that we can make things better. We're open for suggestions on who you would like to see as guests on the show. So please reach out to us and provide us with any feedback that you may have.
Yep. So we will see you guys next time.
Yep. LHB loves EDUs. I know.